Hi, everybody. Welcome to
Hey.
another Mind Spark Monday. I'm Melissa Boston with MindWorks Collaborative, and I'm so excited to bring you two really seasoned educators to talk to us about how things are going with virtual learning. So, with no further ado, I would like to move on to our introduction. So, I'm going to start with you, Tyi-Sanna. If you can let us know who you are, how long you've been teaching, what subjects you teach. If you want to talk about what state, I tell people they don't have to identify the school or the district, but the state is kind of helpful. And then after that, we'll introduce Cindy.
All right, excellent. Hello, my name is Tyi-Sanna Jones. I'm an education consultant, and I'm currently teaching in the self-contained 5th and 6th grade classroom. A really great friend of mine actually started a school, and this year, a week before school started, her special education teacher quit. So she called me, and I have a few hours in my day that I am now working with her team to deliver self-contained for 5th and 6th grade, and we're in DC, and it's an awesome charter, and we're doing great work there.
Great. And can you tell us, oh, so you did say DC.
Oh, how long have I been teaching?
How long have you been, how long, or even doing this work?
Doing this work, teaching. I've been in the field now 16 years. I think
Wow.
I'm 16 to 18. I don't know. Like, it feels like a blur. Yeah, it's a blur.
And you actually have your PhD, correct?
Yes. I've been doing teacher education and professional development for teacher education for about 6 of those 16, 18 years. Like, I don't even know. So I've been working with adults. So I'm back with little people right now, which is also, it's a shift. I love it. Little people give me energy. So that's something else that I'm doing right now.
And which demographic and population are you working with? Is this gen ed, special ed? And can you tell us a little bit about the demographic in your class?
Sure. So I'm working in the self-contained classroom. So my students have autism. They have learning and behavior disabilities or be categorized as such. And so I have one young man that right now I'm still seeing him literally one-on-one. And then the other group, there's 6 of them that I work with a team with them mostly by themselves, but then I also push in with within a general education classroom. So I'm doing some push-in work with the science teacher right now, and I'm working really closely with the humanities teacher as well. So they receive I'll say 3/4 of their academic work self-contained, and then the other 1/4 is with the science, and I'm doing pre-teaching and back teaching with the science during our self-contained, and then also spending time with them pushed completely in.
And as far as demographic makeup, are these children who are minority, like Black and brown children, or
Yes.
what is? I just wanted to know.
Oh yeah, I have 6 kids, and I have one of my kids is Latino, and the rest of them are African American.
Okay, great. Well, I'm so excited you could be here, Tyi-Sanna.
Thank you.
All right, so Cindy, can you tell us, what state you're teaching in, how long you've been teaching, what population you teach, and kind of a little bit about the demographic as well?
So yes, my name is Cindy Vetri. I teach in the state of Maryland. I've been teaching for 22 years, and I teach English, and I also run an AVID program, but my students that I'm involved with are my English 10 ESOL population. So for the last 6 or 7 years, I've taught strictly ESOL students. Mm-hmm. And, even though, when she was talking about learning support, this is sometimes something that I deal with, even some of our ESOL students, they need learning support. They're all, it's always, it's a language barrier, but that's not always what it is. And you have to be very careful and, to recognize those things, when you're teaching and developing your lessons. But so I find that, the way I do things is like a cross-curricular there.
Got it. I'm glad you brought that up. That's a really good point, and something that I have heard a lot of people, kind of struggle with when a child's first language is not English, and then they also have been, identified as having a disability. Oftentimes there's that kind of push and pull between the school and, the parent about, what type of services they actually should be getting.
Absolutely. And what's most important is the disability. Is it disability driven, or is it language? I don't understand what's going on driven, and trying to balance the two
Yeah.
Not one or the other, it's both. So attacking it both with this good teaching and good teaching practices really helps kind of alleviate the problem. Is it a chicken or egg situation? Yeah.
Yeah. And what is the demographic, Cindy?
Well, we're a Title I school. I teach mostly Black and brown children through like 5 of my classes. But even with my AVID program, the way that I have been, my approach has been to be more inclusive. And, you know, in our demographic, we've actually been talking about this, have drastically changed since I started at Dundalk 22 years ago, where our white students were the majority of the population, and now it's our Hispanic students. That population has even grown more than our Black students. But yes, that's primarily it.
Got it. So, okay, so I want to kind of move into the meat of the discussion here with limited time, but really I wanted to understand, you know, your opinion on, you know, what are you most challenged with as you have now, and I'm assuming both of you all are in a full distance learning model?
Yes.
Right. So maybe Tyi-Sanna, we'll throw it back to you. You know, give me, you know, a challenge that's really kind of prevalent right now for you. And there may be more than one, but because we have limited time, we kind of want to really kind of maybe the one that meets the top on your list. And then we'll kind of identify some things that are working. And some of those things may help to address that challenge, while other things may just be good best practice things that we can share with other fellow teachers.
Absolutely. So I think my biggest challenge is being able to, you know, when you're with your kids, you can kind of get a gauge really quickly. So something that would take me 7 minutes on the first day of school to figure out, I'm in like week 2 and 3. So that's been a challenge. So getting from my students even how to work a mouse. And it's like, are they using a mouse or just using this touchpad thingamajig in the middle? How do I get the feedback so that I know they're doing it? My parents are I love my parents. I love my parents to death. But trying to get my parents to say, hey, back up. I need to know what your kid can do by themselves, I think has honestly, again, been the biggest challenge, because no one wants to see their kid fail, but making my parents comfortable to walk away from the computer. I need to really know what students can do, so that in addition to me building content, I need to know how they're responding, if they're able to give me the feedback. If I'm saying make a slide, add something on Zoom, like, is your voice, is it you might have speech goals, but I need to know, is it because I can't hear you because Zoom is jacked up, or you're just not speaking clearly? Is it an articulation issue, or is it a technology issue? So almost differentiating like what's technology and then what really is the person. Whereas in the classroom, and I'm able to see you, touch you, and see everything you can do at your space, I can't necessarily do that in the virtual setting. So being able to set those things up to really get to know your student, to figure out what they need and what they already know, and then how to set up best ways of being able to have an exchange that's meaningful, and to make sure they're getting great level content at something that's accessible for them to actually do independently. Like, if that can be one thing, that's my one thing.
No, it totally can be one thing. I don't know if you relate to this, Cindy. I'll let you chime in about what you may be challenged with, but can you relate to anything that Tyi-Sanna has just said around, is it a technology issue, or is it an issue with your performance or capabilities?
Well, when she was talking and whatnot, and I was thinking about what I was going to share, I think it all boils down to and comes down to communication and building relational capacity. And, I think with social media and with phones and with kids, and in general, even as adults, we don't communicate when we're using technology so much. It's how can we use the technology to communicate well? And they all have their cameras off. Their primary language is not English. So I have to find a variety of ways for them to be able to communicate with me now. In school, it would be different. They could see more of a classroom and some identification things on the walls. And I'm not, you have to have with my population, you have to have a good balance between not speaking too much Spanish either, or not speaking too much of their primary language. Like, some students don't, they want to learn the English, so my thing is the communication. I think it goes along with what Ms. Jones was saying, you know, how they're letting you know that they're getting it. How do you know that they're learning? How can they communicate with you? And so in what ways can they do that? And I think through the virtual setting, it has to be more personalized and individualized. You know, you can make them maybe raise their hands more in class or type in the chat box, but you have to give them so many other options with this virtual learning than you would in a classroom, because they don't maybe not feel as comfortable. Like, it's a little bit hard for me to be like on a Zoom sometimes and be a little nervous, you know, and turn my camera on. And, you know, so I think the communication piece for me and building those relationships where they feel comfortable to turn their cameras on, not have their parents help them so much.
I'm sorry.
Our kids have a choice, but they don't have to turn it on if they don't want to.
Okay. Yeah, I know there are a lot of districts that a parent can apply for, I don't know, like fill out a document, waive their you know, the requirement for them to have to be on camera. But I hear that's somewhat of a disadvantage for you as the educator. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's.
It's been a challenge. Oh, those are two really good ones. I also kind of wonder with you, Tyi-Sanna, you know, I don't know if you have anything to compare it to, but do you see that, well, first and foremost, are your kids allowed to turn their cameras off or on? Like,
everyone's camera's on, thank God. That's what, everyone's camera is on, and I get not having it on too, but I'm super grateful. That's not an issue. Cameras are on. You made me really happy about that, Cindy. That's one less thing I have to worry about. The cameras are on. What's interesting is most of my students are at home, and I have one young man who's at a learning center. His mom works during the day. And so that's a different dynamic in and of itself. So a lot of what I've been working with him is if he's not doing what he needs to do, I can pick up my phone and say, hey, what's going on? What do you need? And I'm getting him to advocate to get assistance from the adults who are being paid to be there, but he doesn't want to bother anybody. So that's his individualization, is getting him to advocate for his needs so that he can do and participate and work. Whereas other students who have their parents like parked beside them, they're jumping in almost too much. So I'm pushing for him to go get the help and to be more independent. And I'm also trying to push for these parents to back up so I can see what their child can do. So it's just like really meeting each student where they are based upon what's happening around them.
Yeah, I get it. So since you segued so nicely into things that are working, as it relates to the challenges that you've both brought up, which I'm sure other educators are kind of dealing with the same thing, overactive parents or underactive parents and underactive students, you know, what are some things that are working that either address that directly or kind of have an indirect effect and are helping you really see success in your virtual teaching? So I'll go to Tyi-Sanna since you segued so nicely.
So what I'm really enjoying is the team that I'm working with is amazing, and they're really responsive and they're open. And so, and also the relationship that has been developed with the school and the parents. Again, it's a brand new school, so it's a micro school, and we're building the culture of working together. The building of community is a part of the culture of the school. And so our parents and our students are a part of this family, this community atmosphere. So I love that's already built in. The parents have direct access to us. And I really think that interactive and that one-on-one relationship that we've been able to establish with our parents. We had meetings within the first week with every single parent for a half an hour. And then we've had these ongoing community conversations with students and ongoing check-ins with kids. So it's a very personable school because of the micro school model. That has set the foundation for us to have these close relationships with the parents and with the students. So that has made my job that much easier because I don't have to navigate some of the things that I think other people in schools with larger numbers and that don't have the culture of we're in this together. Because we have that built into the overall school, I can say to the parents, hey, you have amazing people here. We're doing what we have to do. Some things we're in control over, some things we don't have in control over. Please grant us grace. And we're working through it. So I think because of the foundation of how the school's been set has allowed some of those conversations. So that's working amazing. As far as strategies in the class, is really just being able to go between the asynchronous and synchronous models. And then again, the technology, what's working for kids. I have kids who have whiteboards. So now it's like using your whiteboard, but also working with my OT for her to tell me what she's looking for as we're building skills. So she wants everyone writing as if they're writing on paper. So don't just give me your answer right in the middle, act like it's a piece of paper, do flush left. And then as you're showing your stuff, I can see that you're recognizing your spatial orientation with your paper, as well as your handwriting and that kind of thing. So that's kind of like the coaching and the side-by-side coaching with related services is something that has been embedded because we're trying to make sure we're getting everyone their needs met and their services and hours, but at the same time we're able to work together. So now that when my OT or my speech person isn't with me, I can still go back to utilizing that stuff to make sure that those goals are being practiced on a regular basis with or without the related service person being there.
Yeah, I agree with you. Collaboration is the foundation to this work, right? And I know, I think as you go, finding ways to be creative for kids to show you what they know will continue to evolve. But Cindy, I'm gonna throw that question to you. What is working?
Well, Denise, when you were saying that, making sure that kids, show what they learn. So we've been following the UDL model.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think what works for me as far as what I've been taking from that is, I break my classroom into like 3 ideas. I always try to set a routine. So we always have a welcome ritual, and then we have engaging activities, and then we have an optimistic closure. Every morning they post to a Jamboard. I found that, because even in school, I've been trying to communicate with them that we would be working together. So we need to find a space that we can all access where all of our ideas are coming together, that doesn't go anywhere, doesn't delete, is easy to get into. So, that welcome ritual every morning is something that we visit the Jamboard. They all go in, they answer the question that I post. And it can be, what's been really helping is focusing on like social emotional learning. So a lot of my welcome rituals and optimistic closures are focused around things of that nature. And I will say this, my attendance has been good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's nothing like spring.
Mm-hmm. Right.
My kids are coming to class.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it's because we over the last 3 weeks, we've created a space where it's become safer as the classes have gone along. They feel safer coming in. It's some sort of normalcy for them. Actually, because something just popped in my head too while Ms. Jones was talking, as far as how we can get the kids engaged and understanding. I saw this thing on TikTok and I'm going to look into it, where it's a Google Doc, something in Google Docs. I'm trying to learn. I think Google Docs are the way to go. When the professor is talking or the teacher's talking, and she's a fast talker, and I know I tend to talk fast, you can have this thing pulled up and it's taking notes for you. It's listening to my voice.
Yeah.
It's recording everything that I said.
That's really cool.
And I just saw on TikTok like 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I share that. Yeah. When you find out about that.
And I haven't been doing too much TikTok, but I've been watching it a lot these past week or so, because there's interesting, good tips on there and whatnot. So I thought about that when I thought about learning support and the ESOL students, and even in school, sometimes your students need a scribe, or them listening might not be working. They probably can't take all those notes, or even if they go back and rewatch it. So having that option to go back and be able to look at that transcript or even listen to that transcript.
Right. What platform do you guys use?
So we use Schoology.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then we use the Google Meets.
Got it. Okay.
And then anything in Google Suite is free for us through Baltimore County.
Mhm.
That's where, you know, that's where I was going to be doing Padlet a lot, but we're encouraged not to do that. So the Jamboard is like, it's a cool thing. It's a good thing to build that community of learning.
Mhm.
I feel like it's been working.
Mhm.
Okay.
And what did you say? Optimistic closure?
An optimistic closure. Like
What
how
is
we
an
wrap,
optimistic? What is that?
like just how you're going to wrap up how you're going to like bring everything that you did that day, and then take a look at, you know, where am I going from here? And it can be related personally or academically. You know, maybe you had a better day in class than you did yesterday, and I'm optimistic that I can have a good day again tomorrow.
Okay.
Or maybe it was
I like
academic. It's I try to do my assessment, then my optimistic closure. I don't want my optimistic closure to be like an assessment that they're turning in.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's usually like a 3-2-1 reflection. That'll be my exit ticket or my assessment of their learning, regardless of where we were in the lesson. But then the
Mhm.
optimistic closure is different. That's more
Yeah.
personalized, sharing, not sharing, you know, taking something good and making sure we're keeping the positivity going.
Got it. Well, you guys both shared some really good resources, and I think some challenges that everybody can relate to. So I want to thank you two for joining us today. And I would just like to reiterate, if you all can share those resources on our Mind Hive. I know both of you have subscribed to that. So please go ahead and share the resources there. Anybody who wants to learn more about the work that MindWorks is doing, you can please reach out to us at www.mindworkscollab.org. I'm Melissa Boston on behalf of my partner, Martrice. Thank you for having a lovely Mind Spark Monday with us. Have a great evening, everybody.
Good night.